The first thing everyone remembers is the sound. Not the violin. Not the gasps. Not the wind whipping the lace on my dress. The sound. A court stamp hitting a manila folder, and the hollow echo of my mother's heels stopping at the gate like she'd just walked into a wall. That sound cost me $18,000. It didn't just ruin a wedding. It threatened my job, my name, and my father's legacy. And the humiliating part? 200 people didn't stop it. They watched. I'm not telling this as a victim. I'm telling it as Cassie Lorne, 29 years old, compliance manager for a regional bank, someone who reads contracts for sport. I've seen this pattern before. Greed always leaves fingerprints, so I did something most people are too soft to do. I set a trap. And before you say I'm exaggerating, here's the first receipt. The vendor portal showed a cancellation request submitted from an IP address inside my mother's house. Look closely at the timestamp. 2-3-0. That's where the lie starts. If you've ever smiled through a family celebration while someone quietly tried to erase your life, hit like quietly. You don't have to announce it. Now let me take you back. Not to the wedding day. To the moment my mother heard the word engaged and treated it like a threat. Nathan proposed in the least cinematic way possible. No restaurant, no surprise crowd, no kneeling in public. Just our kitchen. A ring he saved 8 months for. I don't have a speech, he said. I just want every morning to start with you. I said yes before he finished. We sat on the floor after, leaning against the cabinets, and I watched the diamond catch the light. For 11 minutes the world was correct. Then my phone rang. Mom, I answered, still smiling. Cassie, she said fast and bright, where are you having it? No congratulations. No happy cry. Just logistics. We haven't decided, I said. It literally just happened. You need to book now, she snapped. I'll handle vendor calls. You're busy. I'll take that off your plate. I should explain something. My whole life, every major decision had passed through my mother first. College. Major. Apartment. Yob. When my dad died, I was 21. At the funeral, my mother leaned into my hair and whispered, "It's just us now. You're all I have." From that day, saying no felt like pushing a widow off a cliff. So when I tried to set a boundary softly, politely her voice went quiet for 4 seconds. I counted them. Fine, she said. I understand, you don't need me anymore. That old guilt booted up like software. No, Mom, I said immediately. Of course I need you. I want you involved. I heard her inhale, satisfied. Nathan watched me from across the kitchen. I didn't know it then, but that phone call was move one. By the time I noticed my mother had taken over the wedding, the water was already at my ankles. It happened gradually. First, she helped by calling one vendor. Then she fixed an appointment I'd scheduled. Then she changed the contact phone number on the florist's portal to her own. I wanted wildflowers, sunflowers, lavender, baby's breath messy and alive. My mother ordered white roses for elegance. You'll thank me, she said. I wanted barbecue and sweet tea. You can't serve barbecue at a wedding, Cassie. People will talk. That was her favorite weapon. People will talk. She rearranged the seating chart so her friends filled the front rows. She tried to move Nathan's family quiet, kind people 2 rows back like they were an accessory, not the point. When I pushed back, she cried on cue. Right there in our living room, dabbing her eyes with a tissue she already had ready. I'm just trying to make it beautiful for you, she whispered. Your father would have wanted it this way. And every time she used my dad's name, I folded. Nathan didn't complain, but I started seeing him disappear into his workshop longer and longer. Then my maid of honor, Marin, came over to help with centerpieces. Marin had been my best friend since 9th grade. She watched my mother replace the centerpiece samples I chose without asking. Marin didn't say a word. Later at the door, she grabbed my arm. I need you to trust me, she said. Don't ask questions yet. I laughed, nervous. Trust you with what? She squeezed once. Just, don't react to anything your mom does when it gets close. Then she left. I didn't understand. Not then. 2 months before the wedding, my mother invited Nathan to lunch. Just family talk, she said. I thought it was a good sign. Nathan came home that afternoon and sat across from me at the table. Your mom told me you were unstable in college, he said carefully. She used the phrase damaged goods. My stomach dropped so fast I felt it in my teeth. She asked if I could handle you. I had gone to counseling after my dad died. I'd had a rough semester. I'd survived it. It wasn't a secret, but it wasn't ammunition either. What did you say? I asked. Nathan didn't blink. I said I don't see damage, he said. I see someone who didn't get a soft landing. She left after that, he added. Didn't finish her iced tea. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. My mother. Nathan disrespected me, she snapped. He's isolating you. That's what men like him do. Mom, I said. He builds houses, he works hard. Blue collar, she hissed. No ambition, you'll be supporting him. You'll be miserable. My dad loved you, I said. And the second I said it, I knew it was a mistake. Silence. Then very quietly, don't you dare throw your father at me. Click. That was the moment the story split in two. The rumors started small. A hairstylist asked if I was okay because your mama said things were hard at home. A cashier at the market gave me pity like I was fragile glass. A parent at school pickup asked me if I needed anything, voice too gentle. A town doesn't spread rumors. It teleports them. Marin texted me one night. I don't react this week. Trust me. I typed back. You're scaring me. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Good. Scared means you're paying attention. 5 weeks out, my mother called Nathan's mother. I didn't find out from my mother. I found out because Nathan's mother called him early Saturday, voice tight. Is there something about Cassie I should know? Nathan put it on speaker. She told me Cassie has episodes, his mom said. That you should know what you're getting into. My hands went cold. Nathan's voice stayed calm. Cassie saw a counselor after her dad died, he said. That's it. His mom paused. I believe you, she said. But Diane was convincing, she cried. Of course she did. After he hung up, Nathan looked at me with a clarity I couldn't unsee. Your mother isn't protecting you, he said. She's trying to own you. Here's what made action unavoidable. Money disappears before the first dance. Nathan and I saved for 3 years. $18,000. Most vendors had a 30-day cancellation policy. We were inside that window. 7 days before the wedding, I called the florist during my lunch break. Just a confirmation. Magnolia Florals, a woman answered. Hi, this is Cassie Lorne, just confirming our order for Saturday. A pause too long. Ma'am, she said carefully. That order was canceled 3 days ago. My pencil stopped moving. Excuse me? Your mother called. She said the wedding was off. I called the caterer. Cancelled. I called the venue. Cancelled. I called rentals. Cancelled. Every single one. Like dominoes. I called my mother. She picked up on the first ring like she'd been waiting. Mom, I said, voice low. Did you cancel my wedding? I canceled a mistake, she replied flat. That wasn't your decision. Everything about you is my decision, she said. I raised you. I fed you. I buried your father alone. If you want to throw your life away, you do it over my dead body. Something inside me didn't ignite. It went cold. It isn't yours, I said. And my voice was steady. I hung up. I drove home in a fog and sat on my kitchen floor, back against the dishwasher, still in my work clothes. Nathan found me like that. He didn't ask what happened. He just sat down beside me until my breathing slowed. She canceled everything, I said finally. Nathan's hand found mine. Okay, he said. Then we stop pretending she's just difficult. He pulled out his phone. I'm calling Marin. Marin answered on the second ring. Nathan gave her the short version. Marin was silent on the line, not shocked. Operational. Don't call any vendors back, she said immediately. And don't call your mother again. I need 48 hours, Marin said. And I need you to do something for me, Cass. What? Forward me every email confirmation you ever got, she said. And the vendor contracts. All of them. Now. Because I wasn't going to be saved by a surprise garden. I was going to make my mother sign her own consequences. That night, my mother called Nathan at 10:47 p.m. He answered in the kitchen, voice low. Later, he told me what she said. She had a breakdown in college, my mother insisted. Did she tell you the full story? She can't handle stress. Walk away now before she ruins your life. Nathan didn't argue. He tapped his screen. Record. Is that everything, Diane? He asked, calm. My mother kept talking. When she finished, he said, okay, and hung up. He saved the file. The next morning, I did something my mother never expected. I called my bank's legal counsel. Not because I wanted to sue, because I wanted to build a record. My counsel, Talia, listened as I explained. Vendor cancellations, impersonation, defamation, sabotage. You have a fraud and identity issue, she said. But we need proof. Receipts. I'll get them, I said. Good, she replied. Because if you want a clean hit, you do it with documents, not emotion. By noon, Marin came over with a manila folder so thick it looked like it could stop a bullet. She set it on my table. I started backing you up 6 months ago, she said. I stared. 6 months? The day your mom volunteered to handle vendors, Marin said. I've met Diane. She doesn't help, she hosts. She flipped the folder open like a war briefing. Inside were printed vendor portal logs, email headers, cancellation notices, and a separate contract for a backup venue, signed in Marin's name 6 months earlier. But that wasn't the hook. The hook was what Marin had circled in red marker on the cancellation emails. Your mother didn't just cancel. She impersonated me. She used my full legal name. She used my email signature block. She used an older scanned signature from a school form I'd once emailed her. Marin slid one page across to me. It's not just sabotage, she said. It's identity fraud. I looked at the line that made my skin tighten. Request submitted from 170, 2.16.40, 4.9. Marin pointed. That IP address? She said. It matches your mother's home router. Look closely at the time. Dua home de tres anem. That's where the lie starts. If you're still with me, drop one word in the comments. Receipt. By day 2, we had 3 receipts stacked clean. Receipt Hasson, paper trail. Cancellation authorization forms, signed by me, with metadata showing they were uploaded from my mother's network. Receipt #2, digital trail. Email headers showing the messages originated from a device not registered to my account, sent through a forwarded alias she created. Receipt #3, human behavior. My mother's voicemail to Nathan calling me damaged goods and urging him to leave. Now we needed the trap to close itself. We needed her to touch the pen. So Talia helped me draft something my mother couldn't resist. A vendor reinstatement affidavit. The vendors wouldn't even discuss reversals without a signed authorization on file, and Diane knew that. So we dressed the authorization like a solution she'd love. It was framed as a way to fix a misunderstanding and reinstate vendors without penalties. It looked like a shield. It was a confession. It stated, in plain language, I, Diane Lorne, confirm I authorized the cancellations on behalf of Cassie Lorne at her request. It was false, and I knew she'd sign it if she believed it restored her control and kept her hands clean. Marin called my mother and put on the sweetest voice she owned. Diane, she said, Cassie's devastated, but the vendors say if we sign an affidavit that everything was authorized, they can reinstate without extra fees. Cassie's too embarrassed to handle it. Can you help? My mother didn't hesitate. Of course she didn't. Send it, she said. I'll take care of it. We scheduled the signing for Wednesday morning. Neutral location. A notary office inside a co-working space, clean camera angles, third-party witnesses. Marin also tipped a local reporter about a last-minute wedding rescue piece, just in case my mother tried to stage a scene. Wednesday at 8:30 a.m., my mother walked into that room like she owned it. She wore navy, pearls, the widow costume. She smiled at the notary like she was doing charity. Talia sat beside me, calm, hands folded. Marin sat across, phone face down recording. The notary slid the affidavit forward. My mother skimmed it like it was a menu. Where do I sign? She asked. And that was checkpoint 8:30. They sign. My mother signed. Then, because she can never resist adding a little poison, she said, This is for her own good. Talia lifted her eyes. For her own good, she repeated softly as if tasting the phrase. My mother nodded. She's fragile. She needs me to manage the grown-up parts. That line was a gift, because it wasn't just a signature now. It was intent. The notary stamped it. Click. Now we had a signed affidavit, a notarized confession, and witness presence. Layer 1 of the twist was already loaded. Because my mother still believed the real stage was the wedding day, we moved it. Marin sent a mass message to guests. Venue upgrade. New address. Arrive 3 p.m. Surprise for the couple. She personally called the 15 most important guests. Nathan's family, my uncle, my principal, the people whose presence would matter if my mother tried to rewrite the day later. My mother got no message, no address. As far as she knew, the wedding was still at the original venue, the empty one. Now, 12 minutes away, the original venue waited empty. And at 3:15 p.m., My mother arrived there in navy and pearls, dressed for victory. She expected a parking lot full of cars, a crowd, a scene. She expected me broken. Instead, she found an empty lot and a locked office. No chairs, no flowers, no guests, no music, just heat and silence. She called me. It rang to voicemail. She called Marin. Voicemail. She called Nathan. Voicemail. She called my principal. Voicemail. 7 calls. 8. 9. No one answered. Because Marin had told everyone one simple thing in the text: do not answer, Diane. Then someone finally answered. My mother's cousin, older, confused, not in the loop. Oh, Diane, she chirped. Weddings moved. Didn't you get the message? My mother hung up without saying goodbye. 25 minutes later, she pulled up to the courthouse annex. She heard the music, soft guitar. She saw the guests. She saw the photographer. She saw me in ivory through the glass. And she saw the gate. Not a literal gate. A security desk. And behind it, a man with a clipboard and a calm expression that didn't respond to tears. Good afternoon, he said. Invitation? I'm the mother of the bride, she snapped. The man checked the list. He checked again. Then he lifted his eyes. I'm sorry, he said. Your name isn't on the guest list. My mother froze. Her mouth opened, closed. There must be a mistake, she said, voice tight. No mistake, he replied. I've checked twice. Behind her, guests started noticing. Heads turned. Whispers started. Because the town had already done the math. And then my mother saw what she hated most. A camera, not a national network. Loco press. Enough. The red light blinked. And in that long second, she understood she wasn't the narrator anymore. She was the subject. She turned around and walked back to her car. No screaming. No scene. Just a controlled retreat. Inside, I didn't know she came. I didn't need to. Because the trap wasn't at the door. It was in the folder. At the end of the ceremony, Nathan and I stepped into a side room for 5 minutes of quiet. Talia was waiting. She held out the manila folder. Court stamped on top. Temporary restraining order. Cease and desist. And a civil demand letter outlining identity fraud, vendor interference, and defamation. Talia had filed it ex parte at dawn, backed by the portal logs and Nathan's recording, and the judge signed it before noon. A process server was already scheduled to deliver it the same afternoon. My mother wasn't just locked out of the wedding. She was locked out of my identity. That was big reveal at 12:30. The wedding wasn't the target. The target was the control system my mother had built around me. And she had just signed the document that proved she ran it. Now, payoff layer 1. At 4:10 p.m., while guests were eating and laughing, Talia filed the affidavit with the vendors and the courthouse clerk. Then she sent copies to my mother's bank. She attached the fraud report number we'd opened that morning, plus vendor statements confirming the impersonation. Within the hour, the bank's fraud department flagged her accounts and tightened access while they investigated. And banks don't argue with risk. They freeze it. At 4:37 p.m., my mother's debit card declined at a gas station. At 4:44 p.m., her online banking access locked. At 5:02 p.m., the bank placed a temporary administrative hold pending investigation of account misuse. Declined. Locked. Frozen. Layer 1. And because my mother couldn't breathe without controlling the story, she did the one thing that triggered Layer 2. She drove to my house. Not to talk. To break in. To retrieve my things. The way she always framed theft as caretaking. But Nathan had installed cameras months ago because builders don't trust storms. Or people. At 6:18 p.m., she tried the back door. At 6:20, she used a spare key she'd copied years ago. At 6:21, the motion alert hit Nathan's phone. He didn't call her. He called the police. When the officer arrived, he read her the no trespass warning and the emergency order twice. And when police arrived, my mother did what she always does under pressure. She performed. She cried. She claimed medical concern. She claimed she was protecting her daughter. Except this time, there was a court order in a folder. And a notary-stamped affidavit in a system. And video footage on a timeline. A performance is useless against a record. At 6:36 p.m., the officer told her to step outside. At 6:38 p.m., she refused. At 6:41 p.m., she was placed in handcuffs for trespass and violation of an emergency protective order. Arrest. Layer 2. Note dramatique. Administrative. Clean. 2-layer payoff before minute 19. If you're still here, subscribe now because this isn't the end of her consequences, it's the end of her leverage. A week later, the local station aired a short segment. They didn't name my mother directly. They didn't need to. In a small town, subtraction is identification. The bride's mother was not present, the anchor said delicately. A family member canceled vendors by impersonation. My mother's favorite currency reputation collapsed overnight. Her church friends stopped calling. Her charity board asked her to take a leave while things settle. The hair salon stopped saving her a chair. Control looks like love from a distance. Up close, it looks like a cage. Now, the money. We brought the receipts to the vendors. Email headers, voicemails, portal logs. The florist refunded $2,200. The caterer refunded $4,800. Not everything, but enough to prove the point. When you show proof, you don't have to beg. Then my mother tried to negotiate through guilt. She left a voicemail. I was trying to save you from a mistake. I didn't respond. Because boundaries aren't walls. They're doors. And I hold the key now. 2 weeks after the wedding, Nathan finally played me the recording from 10:47 p.m. My mother's voice filled the porch like poison in perfume. She can't handle stress. Walk away now. Save yourself. When it ended, the night felt clearer. I'm not damaged, I said. I know, Nathan replied. He didn't argue. He didn't comfort me with speeches. He just sat with the truth unedited. The next morning, I wrote my mother a letter. Not a text. Not an email. A letter because some things should cost effort. Mom, you canceled my vendors. You impersonated me. You told my fiancé I was damaged goods. You tried to break into my home after a court order was filed. I love you. And I'm done being owned. If you want a relationship with me, it will be with boundaries and therapy. Real therapy, not tears in public. The door opens from my side now. Cassie. I didn't send it to her house. I gave it to my uncle. A witness. Because my mother can rewrite phone calls. But she can't rewrite delivery. Months passed. Life got smaller and better. Nathan's work picked up from wedding guests who saw his craftsmanship. I stopped apologizing for existing. I stopped explaining my boundaries like they were a crime. My mother tried twice to spin the story. First, she claimed Marin manipulated me. Then she claimed Nathan isolated me. But she had a problem. Records don't get tired. And every time she tried to talk, someone asked the question she couldn't survive. Then why did you sign it? That's the part people like my mother never account for. They build their lives on emotion because emotion is flexible. Paper isn't. And the funniest part? She still doesn't know the cleanest detail. She thought she canceled my wedding to make me crawl back. Instead, she funded the moment my spine woke up. Because when she canceled those vendors, she didn't just take deposits. She forced me to stop negotiating with someone who never planned to let me leave. So no, this wasn't revenge. This was reclamation. With receipts. With witnesses. With a stamp sound that told the truth louder than any speech ever could. And if you're sitting in your own version of this, someone using love like a leash, hear me. You don't need permission to be free. You need a plan. You need proof. And you need to let them touch the pen.